Hi, and welcome back to another Brightspace Competencies tutorial. In this video, we will learn how to create a competencies-based release condition. Right now, I'm going to take you over to a helpful resource on a website that defines the different release condition types. All the different types you can choose from are listed here. The conditions on the left and the description of each is on the right. So if you're ever not sure what kind of condition you want to use, or if you see the choices and you're not sure what they mean, you can reference this and hopefully it'll point you in the right direction. No, this website will be in the resources section of your training within Brightspace, so you can look for it there. Now here, if you look right here on the left, you'll see the release conditions specific to competencies. And then on the right is the definition. So we have about 5 different types. You can set it up for whether a competency is achieved, so a user must complete a specific competency in order to fulfill the release condition. You can also set it up for competency not yet achieved, so a student could attempt to complete that competency, but they do not achieve it, and if they don't, then you can release perhaps different content. You will see that put into effect in the next tutorial on release conditions. And then the same thing, you can set it up for a learning objective being achieved or not yet achieved. And then you can also set up a release condition based on a score on an associated rubric. So I'm going to demonstrate that condition right now. So let's go back to our course here. I'm going to set up a release condition on week 2 so that it only opens when a score on the rubric for this drop box right here is achieved. If release conditions are totally new to you, know that you put the release condition on the content item or, week in your course or module in your course that you want to be released. You don't put it on the thing the students have to achieve. You put it on the item you want released, hence release condition. So this week 2 will be released upon the following condition I am now about to set. But before I do, I want to show you my competency structure real quick so you can see where the sample students are. So it'll make more sense to you. So if I go to, if I want to find the learning objective my Dropbox is associated with, so it happens to be this one. And if I go to the structure, you'll see that Taboo Tattoo Dropbox is associated with this particular objective, Intro to Ethnographic Art. So I'm going to click on the results really quick to show you the sample students have assignments waiting for me to grade. I went ahead and graded the first one just to test everything out, and then so I can show you what happens when I grade the other 2. So this student completed the activity and earned a completion status for that. So, and then the next 2 I need to assess. So just keep that in mind. We're going to log in as these different students in a moment. So just remember that Navigator 1 has this completed status. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that now. And then I'm going to log in as a sample student to show you what their screen looks like before the condition is set. So let me go ahead and do that right now. So if I go to this, the course, and I'm logged in as the Navi 1 who has turned in work, and it has received a grade, we see weeks 1, 2, and 3 for this Module 1 are showing up, and also Module 2 down here. So that's no release conditions are on yet, so they have access to everything. So if I log out as that one, I'm going to log in as the other ones that haven't been graded. So, and if we go to their content, we will also see that they have the intro module, they have Module 1, week 1, 2, and 3, and they should also have Module 2. So they have everything. So you'll see how now when we put the release condition on, you'll see that week 2 they will no longer have access to until they pass that activity. So let me log back in. Okay, so now like I said before, I'm going to put the release condition on week 2 because that's what I want to be released when they complete the last drop box in week 1 with a passing grade on the rubric. So we go to add dates and restrictions, and under release conditions we'll say create. And then since we're working with competencies, we're going to go down to the competency related release conditions, and we can choose from any one of these following ones. So I'm just going to choose score on associated rubric to show you something simple. I choose my learning objective, which was Intro to Ethnographic Art, and then select rubric, so my Taboo Tech 2 activity rubric. I'm going to select my criteria. You can select the overall rubric score, or you can select any one of the criteria and set the threshold for a specific criteria on your rubric. Right now I'm just going to do the overall rubric score, and I'm going to set it to level 3. So the student must earn a level 3 to get that completion status checked with a green check mark. So we'll say create. Now you have a choice here. You can do all conditions must be met or any condition must be met. That's really up to you. If you're working with multiple conditions, you can choose between any or all. So it's kind of like as long as if you choose any one of the following, as long as they do one of the release conditions, the item will release. But if you say all, and say you set 3 conditions, all 3 must be met before it would be released. So that's really up to you later on how you want to set up your course. Right now we're just going to deal with 1. In a following video, I'll work with 2. So for right now, we'll just say update. Now you'll see here it says all conditions must be met, and then I have my condition, the competency 1 with the overall rubric score. So now, if I log back out and in as my sample students again, remember the Navi 1 that I'm going to log in as now, they have completed the assignment and earned a completion status. So we should see week 2 show up for this next student. Okay, and so we see the intro course, the module 1, and we see that week 2 they have access to because they completed that activity, the final drop box in week 1, and earned a completion status for that. So we should see that here too. See, Taboo Tech 2 activity was completed with a level 3 status, and it should be also show up under the objective we associated with that release condition, the Intro to Ethnographic Art. We can follow our structure down, and we see that our Taboo Tech 2 activity here, the required threshold level was 3. The student scored a 4. We can see the completion status for that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they finished this objective. So you can see there's a red X here. There's more they need to do to meet that objective, but that's not what a release condition was set up. It was not set up to master the objective. It was set up to meet a certain threshold on a rubric associated with the objective. So I just wanted to point that out. And then let's see. So now we will log in as a student that hasn't been graded yet, to show you that they should not have access to week 2 since there's a release condition on it. So this student has not been graded yet. So if we go to content, we should not see week 2 showing up. So as you can see, we have intro, we have the Art 1 Module 1, we have week 1 and week 3, but no week 2. And that's what we would want to see if we set up our release condition correctly. If something's ever not set up quite right in your course, adding a release condition is more than likely going to point that out to you. But luckily everything's working fine here. Now we'll go back and we'll grade students 2 and 3, and we'll give one a passing grade and we'll give one a non-passing grade, or failing grade, I guess you could say, not meeting the threshold. So you can see how the release condition will open week 2 or not open week 2. So I'm going to log out as the student now and log back in as the teacher. And then I'm going to go to my course and my grades. And I'll find my Dropbox. Let's see. Enter grades. And then let's see the submission for student 2. So we'll bring up our rubric, and let's say student 2 will not meet the threshold. So let's make sure that this one doesn't meet level 3. So we'll just click all level 2s for this. Okay, and we'll say save and record. Okay, so we just assessed student 2 with a level on the rubric that falls below the specified threshold. So now let's go and grade the next student's work, and we will assign a grade that meets the threshold, so we can log in as both and see the effect. So here's students 3 work. We can open it, and then okay, so then we will assess them, and I kind of already have it marked here for you. So we have this at a level 3, so we'll just hit save and record, and then we can see the score pop in there, and then we'll publish. Okay, so now we'll go back to our folder submission. So all these students have been graded. So if we go up to our competency structure and we find the objective associated with that activity, and I click on structure, and then I go to my results for this Dropbox, I should see my competency completed results are now in place. So as you recall before, student 1 passed the activity with a level 4. Student 2 we set up to not meet the threshold, and then student 3 we also assessed meeting the threshold. So let's log back in as students 2 and 3 to see how our release condition works. Okay, so I'm logged in as student 2, the student that did not meet the threshold. So week 2 should not show. And if we click on content, you can see module 1, we have access to weeks 1 and 3, but no longer week 2 because of that release condition. The student would need to resubmit and earn a completion status of a green check mark that they did complete the activity in order for week 2 to show. So let's log in as student 3 now, the student that did meet the threshold, and then we should see that week show up. Okay, so I'm logged in as student 3 now, the student that did meet the threshold for that activity. So when we click on content, we should see week 2 show up under module 1. And as you can see, week 2 did show, and that's exactly what we would want. So I guess I could show one more thing if I... So let me go back to my course. Okay, so I'm logged back in my course here, and I'll show you if I update student 2's grade to a passing grade. The release condition should open week 2 for that student that we saw previously did not open. So if I go to my grades or Dropbox and I find my submissions, I scroll down and I find student 2, and as we recall, this student did not meet the threshold before, but maybe they revised and turned in work that was missing. We can reassess that student at a higher level. So let's save and record. So now they have met the threshold. So we'll say update. Okay, so now let's just check our competency structure real quick. We'll find the objective associated with that Dropbox and the data associated with the activity. And now we can see that all of our students have achieved a completed status for that Dropbox. So I'm going to log out as teacher and log back in as student 2, and we should see, based on the release condition, since they have achieved the threshold on the rubric, that week 2 should open up for student 2. Okay, now I'm logged back in as student 2, and when I click on content, week 2 should be there. Okay, great. So we see that week 2 has unlocked since the student achieved a completion status for the Taboo Tag 2, the Dropbox we associated with our release condition. This concludes our segment on release conditions as they relate to specific conditions for competencies. I hope you found it helpful, and good luck getting started using release conditions.